The monarchs stand off and Antares strikes first, but Jin catches his claw mid-swing and counters with a crushing punch to the face. However, as he pulls back, Antares opens his jaws and clamps on Jin's torso, effortlessly lifting him up before hurling him so far he crashes into fertile land. Laying there, Jin senses danger and springs off the ground, just barely dodging Antares' blast breath. The now one-armed Shadow Monarch conjures a sword and dashes forth toward the King of Dragons, swinging his blade through the beam and slashing the beast's belly. Flicking his tail, the monarch whips Jinwoo across the battlefield and thrusts off the ground, summoning multiple blaze beams that rain down sky. Antares turns his gaze as a sword spears through the air and tears through his wing. 6 more are summoned around Jinwoo, and he sends them forth as Antares blasts breaths again. Their powers collide and consume the entire island. Dust clears, revealing a battered Jinwoo whose shadow armor shatters, causing him to fall to the ground. He takes a deep breath and notes that it takes an enormous amount of stamina just to maintain that great power as Antares presents his final offer, questioning if Jin really doesn't intend on joining him. Summoning his armor, he responds that he doesn't intend on cooperating with a monster. The Dragon King calls him foolish, and the two face off before launching forth and clashing blades. Antares says the Monarch of Transfiguration and the Army of Destruction is destroying his everything, and in the end, he won't be able to protect anything, even at this moment, while they cross swords. Even if he is the king of the dead, as a human, he must fear death. He asks if he wishes for the flame that even incinerates death itself to turn him into ashes. Soon everything Jin is trying to protect will be nothing more than an illusion. Surely he must sense it, since he's awakened the powers of Ashborn, the countless cries of suffering in this land and world. This is what a war is. This is the sound of the army of destruction ravaging humanity. Listen to their cries of suffering. Let their despair become contagious and silence everyone. Antares tells him to regret his decision, but Jin responds that he should be the one saying that. A dagger floats from behind and blasts into Antares, only to get caught in a force field as he snickers, questioning if Jin thought a dagger made from dragon's tooth could harm the King of Dragons. He asks if Jin finds the fight between a flame born within darkness and a darkness born within the light amusing, and comments that it seems the fight is nearing its end. Jin affirms, saying he can see the end, and dashes toward Antares, who states the Army of Destruction doesn't even need to find this place, since he will raise their morale by beheading the foolish monarch. Jin responds that the sun darkens the shadows and shocks Antares as his summons appear, holding Antares in place as he screams that he will rip Jin to pieces and turn him into Drake food, and will give him a miserable death for resisting against the King of Dragons until the final moment. Sung Jinwoo poetically summons his father's dagger and cuts downward, slashing the monarch while wondering if he can see his own death. The sky cracks as Antares' upper body splits in two. This arc continues. Saying he didn't expect that one, Antares tells Jin he's certain he didn't see a gate when he first arrived, and an enormous amount of energy would have been required to connect the two worlds. So how is the ruler's army here, he asks. Was he aiming for this the entire time? To distort space with the clash of great powers, bringing his allies from the other world here. The reason he distracted the army, and the reason he brought him here. He simply thought it was because he wanted to have an undisturbed fight. But there's no way he could have communicated with the rulers. However, Jin denies this, explaining the vessels that they lend powers to were still here. Antares figures out he used the vessels to prepare a gate to this place and found a way to win the war, even if he were to lose the battle. It's Antares' complete loss for only looking at the smaller battle. Jin asks if it's him. If he's the one who commanded the Monarch of White Flames and Beast Monarch to attack the Shadow Monarch. Antares questions if the Monarch of White Flames told him, as we saw in the memories, and Jin responds that Ashborn wanted him to send Antares his regards. Angrily charging at Jin, the monarch suddenly stops as it's revealed he's been impaled by the rulers. Looking up, he sees the brightest fragment of luminosity, and says that the world is covered by such bright light and such dark shadows, he didn't have any chance of winning from the start. He shall wait within the true eternal rest, not the illusionary eternal rest that Ashborn created. Jin responds not to worry, as he will see him again soon enough. As Antares fades away, the ruler lands telling Jin that he's ended their war and doesn't know how he could ever show his appreciation. Jin Woo answers that he doesn't know if this could be called showing his appreciation, but he has a request. It's something only they can do for him. The ruler says that he will do everything within his power to aid him, and Jin remarks that just once more. Could they use the cup of reincarnation just once more? This arc continues. Standing around him, Luminosity questions if Jin just asked whether he could use the cup of reincarnation to turn back time. Jin Woo affirms, and the ruler responds that even if he were to turn back time using God's gadget, the consciousness of the higher being will still remain. He'll still do it even though the deceased monarchs would come back to life with their memories from this life intact. Jin affirms this, adding that once he turns back time, he wants the ruler to not send anyone to Earth. He will take care of the monarchs and their armies by himself in the dimensional gap. Luminosity remarks that Jin is willingly taking on the entire war all by himself and asks what his reasoning is, as they've used the cup of reincarnation many times, but this is the best result they've gotten yet. Throwing the dagger down, Jin says he's lost too many people in this battle and wants to bring them back. The durability of the cup of reincarnation has almost been exhausted. If Jin were to fail this time, he won't be able to turn back time again. If he stops now, he could be remembered as the hero who stopped the invasion of the monarchs and forever be remembered by the people. However, no one will be able to remember the fight he's getting into now. If he is to lose, the fragments will be waiting for him, and even if he wins, no one will be there to congratulate him. And he still wishes to turn back time. Taking a moment, he closes his eyes and smiles while thinking of his family, Cha Hai-in, Chairman Woo Jin-chul, and Jin Ho at the office. Jin answers that he will go back in time, and the ruler acknowledges that he wants to save not just a portion of the world, but the entire world with his own hands. His will to carry on everything by himself reminds Luminosity of Ashbourne, Jin's predecessor. The ruler says he understands and wishes him the best of luck, but Jin says, "Wait," and asks what would happen to the shadow soldiers which didn't exist in the past. Jin learns the beings which overlap with the past would perish, while the beings which do not will remain. Smirking, Jin says he's got it and is ready now. Summoning the cup of reincarnation, it floats upward and shines brightly, covering the whole world. This arc continues. Light beams over Jin Ho, Jin Woo's family, Chairman Woo Jin-chul, Liu Zhigang, Thomas Andre, Baek and Choi, Cha Hai-in, and the entire world. The light slowly fades back to normal, and at Jin Woo's apartment, Jin Ah is asked to wake her brother. Opening the door, she's surprised to see he's already awake and smiling back at her. Jin Ah, who just washed up, the smell of stew that's being cooked, and the sound of chopping, and his room that's full of his smell. Jin greets his father, and Il-hwan questions the use of father instead of dad. A tear sheds as Jin says that he thinks he's had a nightmare. Yes, his nightmare has ended. His nightmare is over, and now he's with his younger sister, mother who's healthy, and father who didn't disappear. He was given the last chance to set everything right. He won't lose this opportunity. He can now rewrite the future that is to come. But, just for a little, isn't it okay for him just to treasure this peace that he's feeling? As a reward for himself, he knows it as well. He knows that beyond those skies there are monarchs preparing humongous gates to attack them right now. But for just a little while longer. If this time that he's enjoying wouldn't cause harm to anyone, then he would like to stay here and enjoy it for a day longer. Vacuuming the office, Kyung-hai spots a note on the desk that reads, "I'll come back after I'm done with what I need to do." This arc continues. Beru holds a clean-cleaved head while Bellion sits before a mound of corpses. This empty world that has nothing but endless darkness feels extremely lonely if there isn't any fighting. Jin Woo stands before Yogamont as he fades away. He won his fight against the monarchs and killed the monarch of the Transfiguration, who was at the core of everything. And so, it's been 27 years since he's entered the dimensional crack. It looks like the long and dreary fight is finally coming to an end soon. The only remaining enemies are the Dragon Emperor and his direct soldiers, the Brigade of Destruction. He's glad that time flows differently outside compared to in here. He guesses that around 2 years have passed in the outside world. Meeting everyone again after 2 years, he wonders how his father and mother are doing. How much would Jin Ah have changed? Should he wait for her to grow up more before explaining what happened to her? Bellion reports that they've finished things up here and there are no enemies that are still breathing. Telling him that they won't waste a second, Jin says, "Arise," while standing above his newly risen troops. Beneath dragon-filled skies, Antares notices the monarch of Transfiguration has been defeated. A dragon asks if they should move somewhere further away, but he declines, stating that he's tired of running away and will fight Jin there. He adds that the Shadow Monarch is truly amazing, and he didn't expect him to use the Cup of Reincarnation to turn back time, to think he'd meet him again, alive and breathing. But it's time for one of them to rest in peace for eternity. Antares introduces himself and asks what's his name, also calling himself the second Shadow Monarch, Sung Jin Woo. Jin finishes, before asking if he has anything else to say. His dragons laugh as Antares declines. Jin Woo dashes forth, as does Antares, and the two clash alongside their monster armies. This arc continues. In the real world, 2 years had passed. Due to what some fortune teller said, the entirety of America was shaken. Normally, this prophecy wouldn't have received any attention. However, the problem was that Norma Selner was the one who gave the prophecy. The god of death will descend on this land along with an infinite number of soldiers of death, she says. They won't be able to escape from death. There's no way for them to escape from the god of death. 2 years ago, she, who was suddenly enlightened, had predicted the death of the North Korean dictator, terrorists kidnapping of passengers, and the crash of the stock market due to the huge crash of the real estate industry. Numerous prophecies of hers have been accurate and have caused her to be in the center of a lot of controversies. And now she suddenly says that the world will come to an end. Of course, everyone would be in shock. And the next day, in the skies of Seoul, a huge black hole that covered almost the entire sky had appeared. Selnor's prophecy then made the headlines across the world. A man points out as the purple hole begins opening. Curiosity grows before underwhelmment consumes as a lonely Jin Woo walks behind the crowd where a man with flowers greets him, saying that he didn't expect Jin to appear in the form of a middle schooler. Jin responds that people might have been scared if he came out with a full bearded face, and it doesn't feel bad to have at least one person welcoming him back. To which the man answers that they really didn't think he'd be able to make it back after trying to take care of everything alone. But right now, he sees that his steps carry the weight of 10,000 soldiers. Jin says that he is sure he's not just there to give him a flower bouquet, and asks what business the envoy of the rulers has with him. The envoy answers that the rulers have a message for him, the Shadow Monarch, and it might be a long conversation. So he invites him to move to another location, to which Jin agrees, knowing just the location. This chapter continues. Scooping ice cream, the envoy questions his choice, and Jin responds that after being in a place where there's nothing for so long, it's natural that one would like to eat something sweet. He asks what the rulers wanted, and when thanked, tells the envoy to forget the formalities and questions if there's a problem. The ruler denies this, saying that in fact he's here for Jin because all of the problems have been resolved. The rulers are worried about his powers, which can influence the direction of the world. As he knows, the power that he possesses is not something that the world is ready for. This world that doesn't even have mana is way too weak, which is why if he's okay with it, the rulers are wondering if he'd mind moving to another world that's ready to accept his power. Jin points out that instead of doing something that's such a pain in the ass like moving him to another world, there's also the option of just sealing him completely. The envoy responds that that is of course possible, and Jin, activating his powers, asks that now that they no longer have any use for him, are they going to get rid of him just because they're afraid of the power that he possesses? The envoy frantically denies this and asks him to read an article of Norma Selner, who had created an uproar with her prophecy. Back when he disappeared, she wasn't such a powerful fortune teller, but after coming into contact with their world, her life has changed. So Jin Woo's very existence has brought about the change. Jin asks if they could talk another time instead, and the envoy agrees. This arc continues. If every living organism has a fixed purpose for their existence, then one thing's for sure. He, who became the Shadow Monarch and stopped the world's odd phenomena, and the monarchs with his strength, have completed his mission. He's fulfilled his purpose. But a great amount of power that has served its purpose is a pain to deal with, just like nuclear materials that have reached the end of their lifespan. If that's the case, there'll be a lot of questions. Would he now become an existence that this place doesn't need anymore? A woman walks by outside and Jin's eyes widen before he runs out the store. The time will come when the question of whether it's okay for him to remain in this place will be answered. However, if there's a reason to remain in this place, then it's probably that there are still people that he loves in this place, and that people who love him are still here, which is why that's enough reason for him to stay here. He'll stay here and find other reasons as to why he should stay here. That's what he's decided on. This story ends.